podcast. My name's Scotty Carlisle.
Jay Kitamura.
And we have a special guest.
Scott Hacker.
And all of you guys in the audience, thank you for coming and supporting this. This is what, how many have we done now?
Is this our third live or fourth? Third
or fourth live.
Fourth.
Our fourth live.
I think I watched the third one yesterday.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we also have a recorded one too, so it gets confusing. Yeah.
Right. We're doing lots of podcasting.
We're doing lots of podcasting. But all you guys listening, we're in Eastville. It's live if you want to attend every Wednesday.
There is wine. We don't have the tequila yet. Oh yeah, there's wine back there. There's also coffee for people that don't like wine, but if there's wine. Anyway, and then there's some snacks. So we got pizza back there and whatnot. So snacks and a lot of good people. So the idea for Trajectory is we always have something or somebody that will improve the trajectory of somebody's life. Tonight is no different. We definitely have. So first of all, how did Scott make it to this forum?
Well, we met actually at a chamber event, I think.
We did.
Yeah, and kind of hit it off. We were talking about our initiative to thrive in 2025. It's like, oh, I just posted that myself. So yeah, a lot of synchronicities and a lot of similarities. And yeah, just before we forget to mention our online community, trajectoryglobal.com. What we do is we have our members post what their goals are for the year. And the Thrive in 2025, the whole initiative is to, as a group, try to help each other reach those goals. So the guests that we bring, the podcast topics that we do are all specifically tailored to the goals that are posted in that community. So that's one of the reasons we brought you. I heard you're a great life coach, and you're a lot of that is
Who do I have to pay is all I want.
a lot of that is mindset, goal setting, things like that. So what better guest to have than you?
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Appreciate
Awesome.
that. Yeah.
And I just want to welcome you, but I want you to give us a little bit of a background on yourself.
Absolutely.
But I have a question. Was there anything that happened in your life that specifically triggered you to go into what you're doing today?
Yeah, actually, it's part of the background of what I would give. I spent 30 years in corporate high technology sales, right? Like, I mean, you guys do technology, right? You guys talked about this beforehand, but I worked for companies like Hewlett Packard, the PC and, printer company. The last job I had was at Amazon Web Services, which is, the second largest employer in the world, and they're the largest cloud provider. That's where I left. But what the epiphany moment was for me was I had been doing that for 30 or so years. I got to a point where I knew it wasn't serving me, and I wasn't serving my company and my customers the way that I wanted to. There was something that was missing. And the thing is, I really couldn't identify what it was. I've always been a student of personal development, so I've gone through people likes of, Tony Robbins and Stephen Covey, for those that go back that far. I've always been somebody who's really been fascinated with trying to improve my life in whatever way I can, but I was always kind of doing it on my own. So it was a little bit piecemeal. And when I got to this point about 2.5 years ago, where I just felt like there was a curtain drawn in front of me for my future. Like, I just didn't know what it was. There was like no future vision. And everybody was listening to, hey, set your goals and go after your goals and do this. And the problem is, I didn't know what I wanted to go after, right? So the curtain being drawn was like, I can't do this on my own. I can't figure this out to the best of my ability. So I need somebody that'll help me get there. And so at the time I was reading a book called High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard. It's where my coaching certification comes from, because I hired a coach that does that discipline right from the High Performance Institute. It was groundbreaking. I found answers, I found clarity, I found purpose in my life. I knew what I needed to do, which was leave a very nice paying sales job to start my own practice.
It's kind of a scary thing.
It's only a scary thing if you aren't clear about where you want to go, right? Like, I call my wife my CFO. I had to make sure that my CFO knew what I was going to be doing next, right? So this is a challenge to just get her comfortable with what I was going to do and why I needed to do it. But she could tell based on the work that I had done and the changes she had seen in me as far as the just the energy and the passion that I had. And she knew what this was really important to me, that it really wasn't a scary thing. I've had several people say, wow, it was a really brave or courageous thing to do. It's like, you know what? If you're really aligned with what you know you want to get done in life and what your purpose is and how you want to serve others, it becomes a heck of a lot easier to make decisions like that. Like the money becomes secondary, the comfort, the things that you think are important, all of a sudden shift. They just shift. So, yeah.
Is there anybody out there that isn't for sure what they want to do, what their purpose in life is? You guys all know what you want to do? Okay. I mean, it might sound like a stupid question, right? But I don't think so. I don't think it is. I think a lot of times people just don't want to say it out loud because you don't want to act like you don't know what's going on or where you could, possibly go. I've struggled with that many times in my life, and sometimes I still do, and it's okay. That's part of us as being human.
Right.
But for you, it was Brendan Bouchard.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, it was that.
What caused you to get involved with that? Did somebody mention?
No, I was reading the book. There's an app that he has called Growth Day. If you've heard of Growth Day, I don't know if you haven't, check it out. It's a great resource for personal development. But I'd read a book by Mel Robbins as well. Another great, kind of personal development person and speaker, author. And there were some things that were just guiding me in this direction. And so there was an opportunity to sign up for a free coaching session. I did it, and I was like, wow, this seems to really line up with me and where it just felt right. Like, sometimes you just have to trust that gut instinct of what you want to do and how that's impacting you. So I really just thought, man, you know what, this is interesting. Let me dive into this a little bit further. And so when I had the conversation and discussed about how the program would look and what kind of the promises were that were going to come out of it if I did the work. Because that's the one thing with coaching, right? Like I'm a life coach. I'm somebody that can help people. I can guide them like any other coach would, but it's up to the individual to do the work to get there. So I had to do the work myself to really get to the results that I'm now realizing, right? Like I'm still a work in progress, like you said, right, Scotty? But I'm really, really clear about all the actions I take because I have a defined purpose that guides everything that I do. I can filter everything I do through that purpose in my life. And it's just so freeing. It's so wonderful to be able to do that. It aligns goals. It aligns the smallest of things, right?
And you help people, and that's what you do now
as a life coach and motivational speaker. I've really been taking to doing a lot more motivational speaking because I want to get this message out to a lot more people, like collectively. So I've been focusing on speaking a lot more in the last couple months. Had some great responses. I've actually been doing a lot of focused work in the real estate industry too, because they're really struggling with all the things that are uncertain in their world right now, whether it's interest rates or the political climate or not enough properties to be able to sell or you name it. There's a lot of stress and they're still trying to earn a living. And a lot of them are entrepreneurs that are working on their own. So they feel like they're on an island by themselves. So,
do you have certain exercises that you have them do? So walk us through the process. If somebody calls you, hey, Scott, I'm looking at this whole life coach thing. I don't know what I want to do. How do you engage with them and what do you do?
Okay. So first of all, I offer a free coaching session for anybody who's interested, right? So before we get done tonight, I'm going to give you a URL. Cool. You can go to my website. If you want to start following me at Your Coach Scott on Instagram, that's the great. You'll see a lot of great just kind of insights that I give there on a regular basis, 2-3 times a week. But a free coaching session is actually, there's an assessment form I have a potential client fill out just to see where they are in life. Gives them a chance to really grade themselves on where they currently are. And I've had a lot of people that have filled out this form say, I don't have an answer to this question. I say, okay, that's great. Then we know kind of where we're starting from. There's some gaps in your life you can't identify. I had this same problem. Let's have a conversation about it, right? So my coaching methodology is curriculum based. And what I mean by that is, again, it's based on high performance habits and the core findings from all the studies and the work that they did. So it's the core sessions, the first 12 sessions I take a client through each session is exactly the same. They focus on clarity and energy and courage and influence and productivity and psychology, which is more mindset, not the deep technology, not deep going into psychology and several other topics and ending up with like purpose and commitment. But every client I take these sessions through, every outcome is different. right? So I, as a coach, listen and mold the methodology, but the findings from the High Performance Institute and what High Performance Habits has shown is that there are core fundamentals that every human being, I don't care what walk of life you're from, all need, or we all have these same basic human desires and needs that we have to get fulfilled. And the majority of them, and the first one is clarity. Clarity is the one that, again, the one I struggled with the most. It was the first thing out of the gate, and it was the biggest one. And I actually call myself a clarity coach now, because I think that if you don't have clarity in terms of anything that you're doing, if you aren't really clear about where you want to go and what you want that to look like, you're just gonna struggle. You're gonna set goals for yourself that you don't know if they align with who you really want to be and how you want to show up in the world. You're gonna give up on them, which means you'll be frustrated with yourself because, oh, I gave up on something else, whether it was a health goal or a business goal or whatever. But if I'm really aligned with the things that I know are important to me and I've done the work to get there, the trials and tribulations, like you've explained, we talked about before, you're gonna have challenges. Just because you do the work to really get clear on your own self and what you can control doesn't mean that it's going to be a smooth road. It really prepares you for the bumps. It prepares you for the rough roads that you're going to have to go through and go over and encounter, but you'll be much better prepared and ready to set those and take on those challenges.
Do you have any exercises that, because there are some people I know very closely that don't care. They want to care. They don't care. They have a level of just, you know what? I guess you could say the screw it.
Yeah.
Right? But we use a different word. Yeah, right? The
It's the
screw
internet,
it.
you can say whatever.
But I think that's an important thing, because there are people out there, and how do you motivate them? Do you have anything that you can, like, besides picking them up and right?
Well, realize that, as I said before, the individual has to be the one that wants to do the work to change. So if they're in the screw it category, they may not want to do the work to change. Not everybody wants to, right? Like, it's not something that everybody wants to do. Actually, there are very few people that are really willing to do the work to say, you know what, I want to build a better future for myself. I want to build a better future for my family. I want to build a better future for those that I don't even know, because I know if I do good things for myself and that spreads out to others, I'm having a better, more positive impact on them, right? So anybody that might say, screw it, I don't want to be bothered with that, isn't the best candidate for what I do. Doesn't mean they won't ever be, but if they're willing to think about it and try it out, yeah, I have some kind of one core thing actually that I do with every client in the clarity session that really gets them to connect with who they are as their best self at a very deep level. Right off the gate, right out the gate. That's what we do. So, yeah.
Well, yep. I mean, the whole finding your purpose is a big part of, like, what I believe too. We've been talking about it a lot. So, I mean, I know you went into it pretty in depth, but I if you can, I guess, reiterate and let everybody know really, like, how important that is, like how powerful it is to, find your purpose, and you even personally, like, between, that's a big difference from tech sales to life coaching, right?
Yeah.
So it's a big shift. I know you said it was an easy shift because you knew where you were going,
Right.
But for people who never knew where they were going, it's hard to understand what that's like. You know what I mean? And I always kind of struggle to let people know how much of a change it is. So maybe you can enlighten them. Yeah.
Yeah. So the one thing I want to make sure I'm clear on, in the 30 years that I did spend in the tech industry, throughout that entire time, I was always coaching and mentoring people.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was always the most fulfilling part of what I did. Like, I always wanted to add value for my customers and make sure I was making their life easier. But anytime there was an opportunity to coach and mentor somebody, I was always doing it. What I didn't realize is that those were seeds that were being planted back then for where I end up today, right? So I may be only a life coach in certification for about 2.5 years. I've been doing this for 30 plus years, but I've got the life experience, I've got the certification, I've got all the qualifications and all the experience now to really be able to be an empathetic and objective listener that challenges, encourages, and cheerleads for my clients. Right? That's a really difficult thing for a lot of people to do, because what I've found for a lot of my clients, and I've coached people that are, VPs at very high biotech companies, to salespeople, to people that do warehousing jobs. I think I heard you said you were in warehousing, right? So somebody I know that wanted to get clarity in his life, and it really just, they all struggle with the same things. So if you think because a person earns a certain level of money that their challenges are any different than anybody else's, I would tell you that they're not. They're struggling with them maybe on a different scale than you are, but doesn't mean that they have it all figured out. Because a lot of times, as the saying goes, if you make $1 million, we'll say, and you get to the top, but you're by yourself, probably didn't do it right. Right? You probably could have done it better. Because if you really want to succeed, you want to get people around you that will help support you, challenge you, right? And do that and help you connect with that purpose. So to go back to your question around purpose, is purpose can change, I think, a little bit over time. We all go through different chapters in life. I'm 61, so I say I'm in my fourth quarter. Right, this is the fourth quarter of the game for me, right? So I'm on the back nine for some others that, maybe you're a golf fan, but is I'm in that, if I'm in that space, that's a different chapter for me than I was when I was in my 20s or 30s, right? So your goals and your purpose change, right? Back then, it was all for me about raising my family and providing for them, and I was donating time at my church and all that kind of stuff, which I still do today. But today, I've got 3 grown children, I've got grandchildren. My life is markedly different, and so my focus is different too, as far as how I can do things and the things that I want to do. But if I look at my purpose statement the way that I have it today, it would have served me way back then. Wouldn't be any different. I'm very fortunate in the fact that I really did that because I've always wanted that. Like, I've always worked on a mission statement throughout my personal life, and it always came down to a checklist of, here are the things that I want to do. And they were good things, but they didn't really, they were too many. It was like a laundry list that I just couldn't, it didn't really connect with. But, and if you want, can I share the purpose statement that I've come up with, that I've lived my life by?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So here it is, and it's the form that I use every morning, and that is, purpose of my life is to be an energetic, loving, and enthusiastic man of service, directed by God to use the gifts he's provided me to inspire and lift up others so that they can be an inspiration and a light to those who cross their path.
You are definitely in the right spot.
Well,
This is awesome. Yeah, that's perfect.
So it's because you and I were talking about this before, Scotty, right? Like, I want to do well, but I also want to do good, like by others. I really want to help. I want to serve. The reason I coach is I want to serve other people. Now, I want to earn a living to provide for my family, right? And do those things. But I want to earn a living also to be able to sponsor more children overseas. I sponsor a couple of kids right now. I'd love to do more of that, right? I want to do more good, not only with the skills that I think God's given me and all this experience, but with, any benefit that comes from the earnings I get from doing this, right? So it's really introspective work, and it takes a lot of work to get to that purpose statement. But through the coaching curriculum I have and the process that we use, it becomes remarkably easy by comparison, right? Like instead of struggling with a blank piece of paper and going, oh my God, what do I want? Who do I want to be? Versus, here are some blocks that we use to help you get started in your purpose statement. And then you start pulling out things out of the person you want to be, for what you want to do in the world, that kind of thing. And then you're able to craft it down into something that really makes a difference to you. But you have to want to do it. You have to want to know, I really want this clarity, because if I get this, now the goals and the way that I want to thrive in 2025, I can start to align all those things to that purpose and to that bigger purpose of why I'm here, right? Because I don't think any of us are here by chance. None of you are in this room, I don't think, by chance today, right? I'm not here by chance. Our meeting wasn't by chance, even though it felt like it was by chance, right? So all these things happen for a reason. They're all very interconnected. And I'm really a person that wants to serve and to help people, and to help, especially people that are in very high stress industries that think they're completely out of control, like they have no control over their future. Does that help? Does that answer the question, first of all?
Yeah.
I know I went a long way around.
Interesting way, I think, to look at it is, because you said that, your purpose kind of changed based on like seasons or the front nine or back nine or whatever, right? So, but you also said that it's you knew that you were fulfilled when you were coaching others, even in the front nine, right? Yeah. So would you say almost like like living your purpose, finding your purpose is like allowing yourself to be fulfilled?
Yeah. Again, because of the place I think I'm allowed to be in my life right now. If I was in my 30s or 40s, right, and I'm still raising my family, I probably wouldn't have quit my job to start doing this.
Right.
I would have done it as kind of a side hustle for now, and then built it to a point where maybe I could transition to it. But I probably wouldn't have thought of it in that way because I was more worried about the security and safety of my family at that point.
Right.
Where now, since I don't have as big a concern around that, I still do, but it allows me a bit more freedom to go out and pursue the things that I know I can really do. I mean, I could have slugged it out for another 5 years when I quit at almost 60. In my sales job, I could have slugged it out and just said, okay, I'll just take Social Security when I get there and suffered through another 5 years. I shouldn't say suffer. I wasn't suffering because it was a good job, and because of the work I'd done, I'd gotten a lot more purpose out of that. But why would I want to do that? Right? Like, the one thing I would also say for everybody is, like, you have one life here. You have one go round on this planet anyway, whatever your beliefs are. Make the most of it in the ways that you can. Right? I'm not telling you to leave your job or go quit or do something else. But the other thing I would tell you too, right? This topic gets very serious, is have some fun. Right? Have some fun in life. If you want architect, there you go in the back. I see this. Have some fun in life. I was telling these guys before. I was telling Scotty before. I'm a drummer in 3 different bands. Like, I play in a classic rock band. I play in a tribute band. I play in an alternative 90s rock band with guys that are 20 years younger than me. Right? I play at my church every Sunday.
That's awesome.
I love music, and I do it as much as I can. But I've crafted that level of joy into something that's really, really important to me. And if you don't plan for that, life can get really heavy. You've got to have some fun. And if you don't, I mean, I've had clients that say, man, I don't have any hobbies. I don't have anything I do for myself anymore. Oh, that just breaks my heart, because I want them to have a richer life than that. So I want you to have some fun in whatever it is you're doing, wherever you are in life, whatever age. Again, I'm 61. I'm playing, I got a gig this weekend at a Belvino winery in Temecula, right, in the afternoon for 4 hours playing drums. So, and then I get up and go to church the next day and play there. It's.
Do you drink wine?
Huh? I don't.
You can live vicariously through me.
I got that. I won't tell you what I drink, but it's a little heavier than wine when I do. It's not very often.
Whiskey.
Not very often.
All right,
There you
great.
go.
All right.
Not very often.
So you mentioned that, right now there's a big need for coaching and doing this exercise for people like in real estate,
Yeah.
because the industry is so volatile and it's, doing this, but
Yeah.
we're, as we were telling you, both of us are in the AI industry, right?
Yeah.
So theoretically, the next 5 years, there's going to be a lot of real estate industries out there, right?
Yes.
Like a lot of industries are going to be affected. A lot of people are going to
Yep.
not know purpose, because purpose is usually their job and what they did,
Right.
and then they're going to lose that. So from how you're helping people in real estate, like without having to go through the whole process, but what's a few big tips that could get them kind of over that hump and not think that tomorrow is going to be doom and gloom?
Well, so looking behind me just because I want to make sure we didn't have a whiteboard or anything. So imagine, if you will, a circle, and I'm not going to take anything from the blank deck of cards, but imagine, if you will, a circle, right? And inside that circle are all the things you can control, like your emotions, the work that you put in, the food that you put into your body, the shows or the content that you consume, the relationships, how you choose to invest in relationships. That's the inside of the circle. The outside of the circle is the weather, political climate, interest rates, what others think of me, right? Those kinds of things, the things you have no control over on the outside of the circle. The inside of the circle are all the things you do have control over. And if you choose to live inside the circle more than outside, that's where you get connection with purpose. That's where you get connection where you can ride out the storms of uncertainty or things that happen. Like, funny story, kind of. I was doing a journaling exercise a couple of weeks ago where it said, I got prompted to list the 5 key areas, 5 key things that happened in your life and why they were so, important to you, what were you doing at that time, that kind of stuff. So a lot of the usual suspects popped up. Got married, birth of my children, my first, what they call President's Club trip for sales achievement, that kind of stuff. And the last one I wrote down was when I got laid off in 2015. wow, Scott, what kind of life are you having? And one of your best moments is getting laid off, right? It was the best thing that happened to me because I was already praying about making a change. I got laid off at a time when I had to move my elderly parents down from about 5 hours away to closer to where we live. It gave me 2 months to spend completely with them to get them settled before going out and finding the next job, which ultimately gave me, which was my target company that I wanted to work for, gave me a huge increase in my pay and set me on a path to where I spent the next 4.5 years and then went on to Amazon after that and ultimately brought me here to this room tonight. So when I look back on that, I'm like, that was one of the best things that could have happened. But when I got laid off, my mindset was not, oh my gosh, look what happened to me. I'm going to go into worry and fret and doubt and everything else that's outside of me. I am going to go into, I got this. God, you're with me on this journey. Show me where I need to go. Let me do the work. Let me do the focus on that. Because I knew I'd go find something. I just didn't have any concerns about it. So, but I had colleagues that got laid off at the same time, and all they did was play blame. They didn't do anything for months, and then they couldn't find work after that because the industry had kind of softened a bit. So they didn't do the work, and so then they were blaming all the external. So roundabout way of answering your question of what I'm coaching real estate about is stay focused on the things you can control, right? If you really focus the energy and the efforts there, all the stuff outside will happen. Like I said before, this is no easy ride all the time, right?
All right.
It can be a joyous ride, but there's going to be bumps. There's going to be a lot of headwinds. There's going to be tornadoes that come at you. But if you do the work to get really solid on who you are and where you want to go and how you want to show up in the world, the rest of it's noise. You can weather those storms. That's really what I'm trying to get them to understand. And I can't believe the feedback that I'm getting from basically even just that part of it. That's one slide in a, hour-long presentation that I give. So that's.
So I have a question. I have two kind of situations. So growing up, my dad had fell off a 3.5-story building and he was permanently disabled. And then he was taking a bunch of medication. He was a very athletic person, boxer, fighter, and he went from running 5 miles to they said he would never walk again, right? And then what that led him was to a journey of rage, of anger, of helplessness, of basically, if you could picture somebody with all of their middle fingers up to everyone and everything,
Right.
That was him. And then fast forward, that caused him to do a lot of things that he wasn't proud of, right?
Sure.
With his family. And then when he was trying to, pull himself out of that, he was struggling with guilt. He was struggling with his self-perception, his own identity. I'm not good enough. People would say crippled. Like if he had heard the word crippled, you better be able to run. Because then you could probably, because he was coming after you. He had a very short fuse because he had such angst because he couldn't do anything about it, right? And so I lived in that scenario, and so I understand and I felt it, and so part of trajectory and how I see it is offering suggestions because there are people out there that are in a very similar spot. Somebody that just stopped doing shit that they didn't like to do, but they did, and they can't take it back. And so now they're struggling with guilt. Like, do I deserve? We talked about this in our podcast today. Do I deserve to have happiness? Do I deserve to have something that is positive and is good? Or I did all that, so karma is just gonna, run me over, and I did it bad, and so, fine, God, just so that from a mental aspect of their self-identification, of their perspective, how or have you come across people in that scenario, and do you have a way of helping them look at themselves in a better light, of overlooking the guilt, of doing something that is going to reframe the way that they conceive themselves?
It's a really important line that we have to draw between therapy and life coaching, right? What I do. What you're describing to a large extent is therapy related because it's past. So it's the things that happened in the past. It's the things you can't let go of. Life coaching is a forward-looking methodology, right? Like I'm looking for how do I build you your best life going forward. Not today. I mean, starting today, throughout the rest of it. I can't do anything that's in the rearview mirror. I can't do anything to impact that. Anybody else ever self-sabotage or say you're not good enough? Right? Majority of the room, right, says that. So I find that with people all the time. And so it's individual based. If somebody, again, kind of, they really want to do better, and they have to give themselves enough grace to say, you're human, made mistakes because of the cards that you were dealt with them the best way you could. Odds are your dad saw a lot of that when he was growing up, potentially with his parents and that kind of thing. The dynamic, maybe not even in his own family, may have led him to that kind of outcome. Mm-hmm. There's other stories of people who've had something similar and they're like, this isn't going to get me down. I'm still going to go out and live my life. It's a choice.
Joe Dispenza.
Yeah.
Right. Any of his books?
Yeah. I know who you're talking about. Yes. I haven't.
The guy's smart.
But it is a choice. It is a choice of how we move forward. So it's really up to him. You absolutely can, but they have to want to build a better life for themselves. And sometimes it's get therapy so you can deal with those past ills, and then work with me to help craft your best future. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
And that's a good answer too, because again, if they're like, screw it, then there's nothing you can do no matter how smart you are.
Yeah, I can't help somebody who doesn't want to be helped. Nobody can. I mean, they have to want to do it, and they have to hit kind of a bottom enough where they just say, this hurts more than trying to do the work to get better, right? Because we are people that, want to seek out pleasure with pain. So if the pain's bad enough, then we'll really do the work to try to get better.
Hi, my name is Marissa.
Hi.
I just wanted to say that to me, what I was feeling that you were saying was you were the one that was receiving the other end of what was going on. And with people that are receiving of the other end of what's going on, like with your dad, that was not your fault, what was happening with him, but you recognize it because the older we get, the wiser we get, right? So it's like you understand he was so strong, and then boom, it changed. And mentally, for a man, no one can be in each other's shoes. I don't fit in his shoes. I don't fit in Jay's shoes. So you understand it, but at the same time, the guilt you're talking about and the shame, that part's not your fault. You were the receiving end. And for the receiving end, we could say it till we're blue in the face, but until you experience it, we can't really tell you what to do with it. But you've been doing a good job with it. I'll tell you that. So thanks.
Cool.
So you said, did you have another question? Because I thought you said you had two.
No, that was really my.
Okay, got it.
Oh no,
So
I did say two because then I have my little sister right now. So there's a lot of that happens with addiction. Okay. So you have somebody that has been addicted to taking, even a lot of it is prescription drugs. It's not even stuff you're prescribed.
Yeah.
Methadone is one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. Right.
Agreed.
But you have somebody that is taking prescription pills that is addicted. When you take it talk about clarity, it completely like clouds your clarity of life.
Yeah.
And they want to do well, but they have some bad habits. How? So I'm giving you a bunch of hard questions, but there are people in that situation that, part of the reason that I came to Trajectory or came with the whole idea, the word trajectory is because my little sister, she was taking psych meds. And again, I'm throwing out a bunch of personal information, but that's what this is about. It's about being okay with the things that have happened to you and, and then connecting with others and, being okay with it. So how do you deal with somebody that has an addiction, but also wants to go for it?
They've got to get help for the addiction first. They really have to get, whatever that would be, whatever that, if it's therapy, but I mean, obviously it's rehabilitation to a large extent, my limited knowledge of it, right? So, but they're going to have to get clear and clean and free of the demons that are holding them down before they can start to really architect the life. Actually, if they just get rid of that, their life has already gotten markedly better, right?
Yeah.
So now if they want to now achieve certain outcomes in their life or go after certain things, then okay, yeah, coaching could do that, but they really have to get free of whatever it is that's causing them to do what they
Good
do.
answer.
So this is so coaching, again, it's not therapy. I want to make sure we're really clear on this, right? I'm a certified life coach. I am not a therapist. I do not have the years of schooling and all the degrees that go along with that, right? That wasn't my thing. People that do that, God bless them. I think they do great work. But the thing I really want to do is I really want to help people forward in their lives, those that want to do the work and have some outcomes in mind that they really achieve, right? Because I had, so one client I had came to me because he really wanted to have more confidence and success at work. But as we got into it, the more he really realized he wanted to have better relationship with his wife and his daughter. Like he wasn't clear about really what he wanted to get out of life. But as soon as we started doing the work and getting in a little bit deeper, excuse me, I'm going to dap my face, that he decided that was really the thing that was more important to him. That he knew jobs would come and go, but his family was kind of the eternal, mark for him. That was the thing he really wanted to show up and be there. So
I have a question for you. So, going back to the circle and going inside the circle. So, somebody who's, say again, like the real estate or somebody in that kind of situation, when they focus on the internal circle, what they can control, and then they go deeper and they find their purpose.
Yep.
One of the hurdles is that you can't always have the financial security and the purpose right away, right? So,
absolutely.
So there's always, that struggle for a lot of people who actually do find their purpose. It's like, now, how do I not feel horrible that I'm actually not living my purpose because I have to go to work and still pay the bills, right? So what's kind of the game plan, or what do you kind of suggest in that scenario?
They feel stuck.
More often, and a lot of people feel stuck because they've been doing kind of the same thing and they've been in a circle for a long time. They do the same actions, they get the same results. So they just feel it's always going to be that way. But one of the things that I find for a lot of folks, like when you really dig into people wanting to show up as their best selves, more often they have these kind words of how they want to show up in the world. Like I want to be somebody who really takes good care of my family and provides well for others and can share that with charities that mean something to me, right? So if I can connect with that as my main purpose, now my job takes on a new meaning, because now my job, no matter what I'm doing, as long as it's legal, is no matter what I'm doing is helping me contribute to that bigger purpose that I've got. And I know this for a fact because it helped me when I was in my sales job and I was really kind of starting to check out because it wasn't exciting me anymore. It wasn't something I was passionate about. So when I started getting my coaching and started coming around to ways that I could really apply that to me, the things I didn't like doing in my job, which was like the admin work. If you're a salesperson, you had to do any kind of CRM or updates of deals you're working on. It's just can be really boring work. You want to get out and talk to people. You want to help. You want to sell. And I hated it. I mean, I just didn't like it. It was the least liked part of my job. So once I started to connect with the reason why I got to do those things as opposed to having to do them, it's a simple shift in mindset, right? Like I get to go to work every day and provide for my family or for whatever I'm doing versus I have to go to work, right? I mean, immediately, if you can make that shift just in simple wording like that, it just changes the mindset of you. I mean, literally, you could do it right now. I mean, if anybody that said, "Oh, I've got to get up early tomorrow." Oh, I can't. Oh, there we go. Or, but the shift is I get to get up early tomorrow. That means I get the gift of a new day. I get the gift of a new opportunity. Maybe I meet somebody new. Maybe I have some new experience that becomes a memory. And by the way, when you're getting up and the things you get to do during the day, start celebrating the small wins you get, right? I said have fun before. Some of that's celebrating the small wins, the small progress. I mean, you guys are developing AI. It's a long process. You've got to be celebrating small wins as you make progress along the way. Because if you're not, as in any kind of software development or anything else, you'll just go crazy, right? So celebrate the small wins and change your thinking of. One thing I always tell people to kind of rifle their thinking through, if you're facing negative thoughts, stop for a second, take a breath, and go: is this true? Is it kind? Is it helpful? Maybe you've heard that before, right? But too often we say things to ourselves that aren't true, but we believe they are because they're coming from inside our head. They aren't kind, and they aren't helping the situation that I'm currently facing. So if they don't pass those three, then you know what? That's probably not a good thought for me to hold on to. How can I look at this differently? And quite often, that's what I ask my clients is, what's one other scenario that you come up with to do what you need to do, right? How would you like to see that turn out better? Or so often we're in reaction mode. We just kind of go into it and we're just like, we just respond. And if we wake up into our cell phones every day and look at an email right away or scrolling social media, oh, man, it takes you away from just the joy of a brand new day right out of the gate. Right out of the gate. So I don't know if that helps answer the question.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to make sure. I know I'm doing a lot of end arounds. I'm like painting a bigger picture to simple questions.
We have a
We
question.
got a question
Yeah,
about.
so I have it.
Yeah, there.
So I've got an 8-part question.
All right. Nice. Hold on. I did bring a notebook. Everybody else take a nap. No.
So when you were when you started at your job, and obviously this is something you identified early on that you love to help people.
Yep.
A lot of what you said has resonated with me, but you found out that you had a real core desire and belief through your faith to help people. What was this transitional period between when you were at work, really kind of recognizing that you weren't truly satisfied, and then at some point in there you decided like being a life coach? Did you discover that on the backside of your job, or was it really when you dipped into the Brett Richard program that you really found this like, hey, I think that I can do this? And when you did that, did you gain the confidence to feel like you could step out into what you're doing now through that program alone, or did you believe it beforehand?
That kind of was an 8-part question.
So good one. Well thought out.
There. So to answer so that I actually went through the coaching in kind of my last year of tech sales. So that's when I went to go get my answers. It was about midway through the coaching process for me. I think it was around session 5 or 6 that all of a sudden, and I had a great coach, and I've had her up until just a couple of months ago, but I had to hire some other coaches to help me with some things this year. About midway through, all of a sudden I went, holy cow, this is what I should be doing. Like it just was a light switch that flipped on for me right then and there. And I'm like, okay, how do I make this happen? And so that was the thing that started me thinking about it. And I even shared it with my coach, and she goes, I kind of wondered, because sometimes I would ask her questions that she could tell that like I was feeling out how a coach would do this, right? Like there was just certain back and forth. She goes, yeah, I could kind of tell that was the way you were leaning at times. So she was very intuitive and really, really great. So that's when the switch got flipped. Now, one of the things I coach on one of the core sessions is courage, because as you said before, it's kind of a courageous step to leave your job and want to go start your own business without any prospect of what's going to happen, right?
Right.
So courage, I didn't realize how much of that I needed to be able to conjure up, and I wasn't really living very courageously up to that point, right? So courage became a big thing for me. Clarity and courage were two of the biggest things, and then purpose were the biggest three trifecta, if you will, of things I got out of when I was a coached client, right? And those were the things that were the most transformational for me, because they allowed me to be clear about what my purpose was, right? To know and be confident and courageous that if I take this leap, it's going to happen, and to get really clear about what I needed to do. And oh, by the way, when I left my job and did what I did for the last year, right? And for last year was the first year I really was full on in life coaching. Make sure you're willing to review what you're doing and make changes. Because I had one goal in mind and one idea in mind for my business. It's changed now. And I'm serving more people, and I'm more connected, and I'm more fulfilled in what I'm doing than what I was chasing when I first started it. So as we talk about setting goals and trying to thrive in 2025, don't set a goal for yourself and say, okay, I'm locked into this goal. This is the only thing I'm going to focus on, and I'm only going to do it this way. Look around as you're doing it. Is there a better way to do it? Is there somebody I can enlist to help me do it, right? Do I need to modify it a bit? Who can I help, enlist to try to help figure that out, right? Because I couldn't do it on my own. That's why I have a social media person now, and I have a business coach, because I had some gaps of things that I just was struggling to do, that I needed to hire the right expertise so that I could focus on what I'm doing, which is being here and hopefully giving some level of inspiration and hope to those that are listening online and for those in the room. So Derek, does that help?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And to kind of focus in on the courage part of it, because rewinding back to 2015 when you got laid off, you had the courage to know that you were not going to have an issue finding a job.
Yes.
But then through the coaching, really identifying that through the program, you had the courage to kind of really step into the unknown. And is that where you were beginning to identify that you had to find a different level of courage to kind of step into this new realm, this fourth quarter of your life, if you will, to understand that, courage is one thing, but there's levels of courage?
Yes. And actually, I think we often, what I found that I always found like courage was this big, huge thing, like, you know, a fireman running into a burning building, or a policeman in a shootout or something like that. And it's like, there are small acts of courage we have to enact every day. And we have that opportunity. Like, I don't want to have a difficult conversation with somebody, right? So I'll avoid it because I think I'm saving them, or I just am afraid it happened, right? I don't want to tell my wife this, or I don't want to tell my kids that, or I don't want to tell somebody no. How many people struggle with saying no to somebody? A lot of people do, right? You've got to be able to do it because it gets you some of your sanity back, for one. But it's because we're always so worried about letting somebody else down. We're afraid of letting somebody else down. So that's when courage shows up. It either shows up or it doesn't, right? And so if we know that we have to summon it, and there are ways that I could help people get to a more courageous way that they would approach their life, then a lot of that becomes easy. And believe me, there were still points where I kind of got a little bit uncertain about things. I'm like, Scott, come on, you know that you're going to do this. Plow ahead, be confident with it. Know that God's got a plan for you in this. Keep doing the work. Be patient. It'll happen. And it's happening in an amazing way. And by the way, last year, like, if you want to look at what I was able to do, I was more fulfilled, more joyous, more vibrant in terms of the work and the life that I led last year, making nowhere near the amount of money I was making in a sales job previous. None. Right? I was doing a lot of free work because I just wanted to serve people and get out there. I had a lot, I had a good amount of paying clients. I had really good success early on. And then there were some gaps in there, right? I'm just being transparent here. I'm saying this is not, just because I figured it out doesn't mean there's still hard roads out there for me. I'm still working on it just like everybody else is, right? I'm human. Did it help blowing the bridge up? Did it what?
Did it help blowing the bridge up?
I did. Because I don't know that I would have taken his question, or his statement was, because he didn't have the mic anymore, did it help blowing the bridge up, which means taking that clear cut and just moving on, right? Yes, it absolutely did, because I wouldn't have done it otherwise. I think I would have been too timid to say, I'm not going to walk away from that cushy job and that, money I was making, right? So
Scott, first of all, I love Brendan Burchard.
Good. I heard you. I said his name. I was like, yeah, I don't get it. I like that.
Yeah, we've been the mastermind probably about 15 times. So we read one
for you
about 15 times.
Nice.
And, I have a question though. I find that, the different levels you go up, after you've gained clarity, you lose clarity again.
Yeah.
You got to regain clarity. But my question is, for someone who is new, who's just realizing I have a purpose, I kind of know what my purpose is. Do you help them put together a game plan for, being able to walk more in their purpose, or to be able to execute, I would say, their purpose?
Yeah. So to a certain extent, so with the coaching methodology I have, right? Again, it's high performance habits based. We do there's an hour-long session on that particular topic. Then there's homework that comes with it that helps them to actually start to operationalize and put this into practice for themselves. I work with every client to try to figure out what is it they really want out of the end result. Like, there's been certain clients that have been salespeople. So it's like, okay, I'll build on a couple of extra, sessions at the end of my normal curriculum, but let's really get defined on how you need to show up in your sales role. What are the things you're struggling with specifically there? And then we'll talk around those. So it really varies by client in terms of, depending on what the outcomes are they're looking to get to. For some people, it's just they need to get reconnected with themselves and, who they are, what motivates them, because a lot of people just don't know. Like, I tease a lot in the fact that I say, we go through our young lives and we go to school and maybe you go to college or you get your degree or your certifications for whatever work you do, but nobody teaches us how to be an adult,
Yeah, right.
right? Nobody teaches us that stuff. And so
Mhm.
we kind of go through that tendency. We kind of go through that by happenstance. And what I end up doing is you'll see lighthouse images a lot if you go to my website or anywhere else, is I kind of ferry people through all that. Like I put them on a ferry and I help them ferry themselves to themselves because they've lost it out there. So because they've been so busy chasing the dream that they think they wanted, when all they're really doing is comparing what they see others doing and trying to keep up with them. That's like, and that causes frustration because if they don't get to that level, they feel defeated, right? And if they're not having the level of success that they think they should have, they get defeated. Again, all outside the circle. They're all external like things. Don't worry about the outcomes. Worry about the inputs. Worry about the work you do so that if you continue to show up and do the work and be disciplined about it, the results will come. They actually may be different results than even you had in mind. They could be better, right? Sometimes we limit ourselves by our own, outcomes and the things that we think that we deserve, right? Like you were saying before,
Yeah.
you didn't deserve it. So, some people don't think they deserve a certain level of success. So they'll self-sabotage themselves if they start getting too close to it. Weird how we work sometimes, right? So,
One more question.
Yes.
How does goal setting help with not only aligning yourself with what you want, but staying on track, keep from being distracted?
Yeah.
Because distractions are everywhere nowadays.
absolutely true. Absolutely true. We live in a very distracted society.
That is.
These smart things don't always make us so smart, right? So when it comes down to goals, it's really, I actually am just doing a thing on social media right now. It's a discipline plus aligned outcomes equals success. So you need to make sure that, as I said before, you're really clear about who you want to be, why these things are important to you, right?
Hmm.
Get really clear on the end result. If you've ever heard this, begin with the end result in mind and then reverse engineer it. So if I know, like if I can get really clear, and by the way, you need to do this in quiet. Don't do it with the TV on. Don't do it while you have your phone buzzing next to you or anything else. Spend time every morning in quiet, in silence. What am I doing? You could call that time with God if you want, if that's something you believe in. It could be just time in silence to let your body sit and just do some deep breathing and get connected with who you are at a very deep level, right? And then get really in clear about smell it, feel it, taste what that is going to look like. And then the goals come. Because the goals, if you can get really clear on the end result or the outcome you want to achieve, again, it may be a little bit different. You'll enjoy the journey, but your goals now will more closely align with the person you want to become. And you have a much higher propensity to stick with them, right? Because if I just make goals like, New Year's resolutions, second Friday in January is Quitter's Friday, right?
Yeah.
Majority of people have already quit by the second week in January because they thought it was the thing to do. Oh, I want to get healthy. Oh, I want to get, I want to stop drinking. I want to stop smoking. I want to whatever. I want to find a significant other, whatever it might be, right? But that goal in and of itself, way too arduous. There's no specifics in there. You want a goal to be really, really specific. You want it to be measurable, and you want to measure it, right? You want it to be achievable, meaning hard enough you have to work at it, and not too easy so you get bored with it. You want it to be realistic, and you want to have a time frame associated with it. If you ever heard of that SMART goal analogy, that's what that is, right? Be time bound with it. Like, real simple one for me right now is I want to lose 10 pounds by March 1st. Right. And it's so it's smart, it's sustainable, it's something I can do. And I'm doing it through working out and eating right 6 days a week. Simple. Right. It's a really simple goal. And it's time bound and it's really short term. But I've got, 7 others that I'm working on throughout the year. And that's the other thing I would caution people on. If you're setting goals, come up with a list of 30. Right. And have a list if you want and say, here are the top ones, but you got to prioritize which are the important ones that get me to where I need to go soon. Versus, hey, some of these are more longer term. I can put that off a year, or I can put it off 2 months, 6 months, whatever it might be. So, that makes sense? Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, I have
All
a
right.
question.
Yes.
So you talked about celebrating your wins.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So how about when you don't think they're wins, but they are, and you don't want to celebrate because certain people, right? Because to me, it seems like the only time I celebrate is when I come to trajectory. Everybody's happy. I've been sober 5 years, right? I go up there and be like, I've been sober 5 years. People are like,
Yeah.
right? Especially my type of work.
Uh-huh.
And like when you're by yourself, though, like what's a good example of celebrating, by yourself?
Yeah. So when I say celebrating too, I don't necessarily mean throwing a party and going out and, tying one on, right? It could be, maybe it's something you want to go out and celebrate with others, and because they know you were trying to work towards this and you won something. But it could be something as simple as, I did that one extra thing before I left work today. I did that one extra thing, right? So you know what? I should feel proud of myself that I put in that little bit of extra effort, because that'll make it easier to do, to show up tomorrow, right? The things that you do today that are hard are going to make tomorrow easier, right? So if you do easy things today, tomorrow gets harder. If you eat poorly today, if you drink too much, if you do all those things, tomorrow's going to get really hard, meaning not literally tomorrow, but the future, right? But if you do harder things today, which is work out, exercise well, watch what you consume, that kind of stuff, that battle gets a little bit easier. So celebrating small wins just means, you know what? Hey man, I just finished that. I had a project I didn't want to start and I did it. How about I didn't want to work out this morning and I did it? You know what? Yeah, nice job, man. Nice job. Well done. Yeah. All right. Better? Yeah, good. Okay.
Do you subscribe to the idea of Jordan Peterson, make your bed in the morning as your first accomplishment to begin the day?
It's a win. It's a win right out of the gate, right? It's a win right out of the gate. Make your bed, right? So
We got 5 minutes.
we got 5 minutes left. So anybody else have any questions? By the way, thanks for all the questions. These are great.
I got
Oh, Pam's got one in the back,
Oh,
and then go ahead.
go ahead, Pam.
Okay, so he tells me it's a mental thing, but I'm like physically, I feel like feverish.
So
I'm just-
I understand the mindset, and I want to totally believe it, and I want to not feel like this. Who the heck wants to feel like crap, right?
Right.
So
Nobody touched the microphone after she's done.
I feel horrible. I'm sure the glass.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I've broken 800s. I have this major sinus thing going on. We buried my best friend's son yesterday.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
So, I mean, maybe it was, I don't know, but so I've got some stuff going on, but it's really important to me that I make a very good impression with my bosses. I work for these guys. And
Uh-oh.
You're
Yeah,
fired. Get out. No, I'm
that-
just.
there's the first red. No, no, they're great. They're awesome. And so I don't know what I fight all the time. I fight with myself. I fight with. I'm very dedicated and bought in, and I care about these guys, and I totally want to do a great job for them.
Yeah.
And myself, I have standards,
Mhm.
and I feel like shit. Excuse my language. Complete shit. Like I feel like if I can't be my best, that I shouldn't even like. I need to take care of me, or else I'm gonna get sicker.
Yeah,
So I have that dilemma going on right now in my head.
right.
Can you give me some type of guidance?
So, perfectionism. Perfectionism
It's not-
is that something you face?
No, I don't. I
Good,
do
because
everything
that's
in-
poison.
Everything I do is an excellence. I
Yeah,
try to be excellent in everything. Perfectionism is unattainable.
that's good.
Good,
I'm
yeah.
glad that you feel like perfectionism is unattainable, because it's a poison. It's
Right, I
not
don't
something.
believe it.
It can be. We can take perfectionism and we can go a whole nother hour on
Not
that. To
there.
be honest with you.
Not there,
But having high standards is one thing.
right?
But having high standards and beating yourself up over them is something else,
Right.
right? Because you have to be realistic with what things are you want to get done in a day. So I have a really simple strategy for people in the morning. It's a 3-2-1 strategy, right? And I think Brendan actually may have suggested this early on. But when you get up every morning, write down 3 things you're grateful for, right? Different things every day, by the way. Don't make this a checklist item that I wake up every day, my health, my life, my whatever, my life. Because then you don't think about it. I want you to spend some time with it. So write down 3 things you're grateful for. Because if you do that, you're starting off your day with gratitude, and all the studies show anybody who's grateful, their life is way better. 2 things you're going to accomplish. I know you're going to do a lot more than 2 things, but what are the 2 things that are really going to move the needle for you that day? That if nothing else gets done and your day gets blown completely sideways, what are the 2 things you can do so you can look back at the end of the day and go, you know what? I got those 2 things done, right? Because too often we have a task list that's 20 long, and we get to 10, and then, oh my gosh, I got 10 more tomorrow. No, I can't sleep now. And oh, all the worry and the upset sets in. 2 things you'll get done. And then the one thing you'll tell yourself when the day does go sideways on you, when the storm hits, right? When things just don't go the way you plan every minute of your day, and all of a sudden something urgent comes up that has to happen, or a family matter, or you're not feeling well. You can't get all that done. You can't get all done. Give yourself some grace. Know that you're doing good work, right? And just enjoy the journey. 2 things you're going to get done. 2 things, right? And those 2 things could be a combination of things. Like for salespeople, I would say 2 things are 10 calls. Maybe if you have to make 10 calls a day, that's 1 thing. Then 2 other things.
Do you take care of myself? Oh,
Yes, take care of yourself. Absolutely, 100%. First and foremost, because if you don't take care of yourself, guess what? All the rest of it falls apart. Yeah.
Awesome. So let's have some closing thoughts. Do you have any thoughts that you want to throw out there? I had to put you on the spot, Dave, just because.
As long as you didn't.
You want to give yourself some time to think.
I was like, oh man.
No, I'll start.
No, that's fine. No, that's fine.
Okay.
No, but well, first off, thanks for joining us today.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Hey, I thought that you had a lot of really good nuggets. Honestly, yes, thank you.
Yeah. Just a reiteration, because I'm a big believer in purpose. That's, we're aligned in that way where like we want to help as many people find their purpose.
Yeah.
That's really why I think I'm here too. But it's the way you articulated it is great. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think my biggest thing is, what if our purpose as of right now, as our present being sitting here, because that's all we have is right now, and then it's right now again, and it's right now, it's always right now, always. What if our main purpose is to take care of our future self? So the things that we do right now, if we could keep that front of mind, what can I do to love, to nurture, and to make sure that my future self, like making the bed, I think fits into that category. If you make the bed, your future self might have had a hard day, and your future self's coming home, and that bed is made, and you can say, oh, and then pull the blankets back, and So I don't have an answer. I just want to throw out there a what if to get your mind kind of just like, think about this later, not just right now, but later. And when you have a decision to make, don't make it for your present self, make it for your future self.
It's a bit of a paradox because it's saying you are where you are.
Where's the mic? We'll give him the mic. This is good stuff.
Well, you can't project over the internet.
Yeah, you can't project over the internet. It's that paradox. You are where you are based on the decisions and actions that you've taken in the past. But the reality is, where you are right now, you're not the same person because you've evolved from that moment before to today, and it's that history of those moments that have taken place that have brought you to here that has in fact changed who you are. So there's a paradox of being where you're at right now based on previous decisions, and being where you're at right now as who you see yourself as based on the history of events that have brought you to this point. So you have this opportunity to really change the way and move forward into a new future because in fact you are a different person. I think where we get stuck is, I'm still standing in this puddle of mud. Haven't quite got out of it yet, but man, I sure stepped over a bunch of landmines to get to this puddle of mud. And therefore I can see where I'm going now based on what's happened. So I think that's more of and going back to Joe Dispenza, it's that paradigm shift in the way that we see where we're at and where we can go.
Yeah,
I just wanted to add that.
Yeah. I'll give you
great.
applause for that.
And if anybody is really interested in just in getting a document to kind of help you just with some prompts of all the things that I've been talking about today, right? If you go, I just put together this URL today, yourclaritycoachscott.com/free download, all one word, right? Just put that in there, go visit that. There's a really great resource. It's high performance habits based. It's questions and prompts in 6 key areas of high performance habits. It'll really help you there. If you want to start following me at Your Coach Scott on Instagram, I'm putting up stuff there all the time. So and we've connected. Yeah, yeah, that'd be great. We can definitely put that out there. And I know we're connected now on Instagram. Would love to really spread the word on this. I'd love to help you guys get more people in this because I love the work that you're doing. Just based on this one particular instance. So yeah, you know what I can do to help.
Yeah, and the more people that we can get involved, the better that we all are. Rising tides raise all ships.
Yeah, man.
So,
Yeah.
all right.
Very good.
Well, thank you all for attending, and thank you all for watching. And I guess, that's all, folks. That's a wrap. Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
He needs to what? Perform. Oh.